Hey guys, I am really excited for today's video. I've been working on your 3D massing models for quite some time now, and I've got to say I've got a lot of exciting options for you guys to consider and for us to discuss further, of course. So I want to start here with some of the inspiration images that you've provided over the course of the project as a reminder for how I started my approach looking at these 3D models for you. There has been quite a consistent expression for this desire for a farm style home, a farm shaped home with either a gambrel roof or this sort of double gable roof here, or this dual pitch roof style like this. And I took that to heart, and I really tried to make quite a lot. I took a lot of inspiration from these. And you've also got these other sort of really interesting A-frame style homes. Now I know we discussed this previously and you said that you didn't feel the need to pursue the A-frame home. I couldn't help but just explore it a little bit further to see if I couldn't make it work. You've also got this image here. I just think you think it might be quirky or fun to have these sort of whimsical round doors. I didn't quite work this particular element in, but we could talk more about doing sort of rounded elements like that elsewhere. This image here. So you're going to find that I definitely fixated on this as sort of a color palette. I've got a pretty consistent theme going where I'm using these sort of tan colored shingles, whether they be real wood, which I wouldn't recommend given your wildland urban interface, your fire hazard zone that your house is in. I would recommend going with a stain grade looking artificial shingle, like something like a cement fiber shingle. That would give you a layer of fire defense better than doing this out of wood, but still the shape, the texture, and the color could be very much like this. And then some vertical board and batten, colored darkly, perhaps a dark gray, again made out of fiber cement. And then lastly, maybe another color of this material, but in a blue theme. Because I noticed again and again that a lot of your images talked about liking light blue. Some interior shots for just some really nice colors, really grand gestures here. Big walls of glass, lots of glass, very interesting. Vaulted ceilings, really gorgeous images here. And I want to thank you for providing these. So now let's take a look at where we were with the floor plan that we had developed. So, I know that there are a few things that we're still iterating on, specifically with regard to lengthening this room here. I think we should talk more about that. But this was the basic layout that we had, with the entering in on the great room that's meant to be vaulted or very tall, bedroom wing off to the left, garage, playroom, mudroom here, and then of course the detached ADU. I didn't get into exploring the shape of the ADU. I'd like the ADU to take its cues from the decisions we make for the main home. So it's really just blocked out, and I haven't even really studied yet whether the porch should be on the left here or at the front here. And again, I think let's figure out what we're doing for the main home first, and then this will copy that. Okay, so let's jump into the 3D models. Okay, hold on. So we're supposed to start on this tab here. So what I've got for you are 5 different studies that I think are worth exploring and discussing in terms of pros and cons. And then of course I'll take your feedback and we'll generate the next scheme that may be a hybrid of some of these different ideas. We'll see. So we'll come down here to the front and then zoom here on study number 1. So again, I couldn't help but fall in love with the idea of doing a Gambrel style home for you. I really like sort of what we're seeing here. It is right at the 18-foot height limit that the city, as the city defines it, which gives you about a 16.5-foot interior ceiling height from the finished floor to the underside of the ceiling, which I think is really great. I think, though, this does stand out as a bit different from the neighborhood, and so if we do exceed the 18-foot height limit, we might have a tougher time getting this approved. And I think it's really interesting, so I'd love to get your thoughts on this. As we look, we've got the bedroom wing over here, and I've really tried to take cues from the neighborhood on how to roof the bedroom wing. I think tying in with some simple gables or hip roofs would be the right way to go there. So you'll see that as a general duplicated motif for the other studies. Here we're seeing the flex room and the garage. A couple different ways that this could be done as well, of course, but I think it's important that this area takes its cue from the purpose of the main room or the great room roof. So more on that to come. Here at the back of the kitchen, I think this is really phenomenal. A really special home for you guys. The concern I have is that the images that you've shared with me look like they're more like they're converted barns rather than building it from the ground up. And so maybe it's going to be something that you ultimately don't want to do. But I still wanted to show it to you because I think it's really kind of cool and quite feasible. Now, I don't want to overpromise on the interior aspects of this. There's a lot of cleanup that has to be done, but just as sort of like a concept of building this and expressing some trusses, adding some interest to the interior rhythm of the ceiling could be really special. Another element that I wanted to try and incorporate was the A-frame element of your inspiration images. So I thought a perfect place to do that as an accent would be the master suite. So you'll see this again and again copied. There are other ways to do this again, but I really think this is special. These little wing walls could be little extra storage cubbies accessed from the interior, although you might want to reserve this length of wall for furniture. I think it's really kind of cool. And still gives you some pretty dramatic spaces and views, of course. Something I've been talking about for a long time would be the view when you come in from your master vestibule and you look out and you see that elm tree. I'm so happy with this as a concept. And then, of course, looking out here, I'd love to have a big skylight right here. I think sitting under the crown of this oak tree would be a shame not to look up and see that. But I know you're a little against skylights, and I don't blame you. That's the first thing that's going to leak in the house. It's going to be the skylight. But when we've got an impressive canopy to look out onto like this, I think it's worth doing sometimes. Couple windows at the tub here, and we could do some of those bottom-up shades. So I'm not concerned about privacy, although I do want to talk about the access into this room. I don't know if you recall from the floor plan, we've been showing the door into the tub directly across from the tub. I feel like this is worth exploring, that we move this door down, because I don't want to turn the corner here and look down the open door and see your tub. Even though it's going to have a nice view beyond, I think it'd be better if this was solid wall with a piece of art or mirror on it, but we could talk about that in more depth after we fixate on an exterior look here. So that's about it for this sort of scheme. Let's move on to another option, which would be a far more traditional or neighborhood, contextually sensitive design where we're really just relying on hips and gables. And we're staying under 18 feet still. This is not as exciting of a design, but it's certainly probably the simplest one in terms of the approvals process. This is a fantastic home. There's nothing here that I would say would be a mistake or a misuse of this opportunity. But it's certainly playing it safe. And I think, as we've talked about before, we're more interested in getting a final product that is great for you guys. And if we have to go through a longer approval process, so be it. But some of the designs I'm going to show you might be tough to do when we do that sort of. Before we move on here. Might be tougher to do when we start looking at more extreme designs that are taller. So here's one more option, and I think this one's probably a bit of a throwaway. This is study number 3 here, and this one I'm calling sort of the transitional design. This has the simplest roof. It is one large gable roof at a 2 and 12 pitch to take advantage of that metal roofing that you've already expressed an interest in having. It's going to be the easiest roof to build, the easiest one to maintain. It gives you so much southern facing roof exposure for solar panels, but I doubt this is at all your cup of tea based on the images that you've shared with me. However, I think there's some merit to it. There's certainly a lot of different ways we can tweak this, but I had to try. I had to take one crack at it. One thing I really don't like about this one is that I felt compelled to bring this roof return all the way over here and support it with a post, but that is within the drip line of this tree here. If we wanted to go this route, we'd have to get the arborist to look at that and give us his advice there. That's only if you even like this sort of design idea. All right, so here, and again, this being set at 18 feet would mean less design review oversight. There'd still be some at the staff level. They could still say, hey, this giant single peak is not in keeping with the rest of the neighborhood, which relies more on having a bit of a hip roof at the front. But there's only so much they can do at that level. That if you wanted to do really any of these 3 designs that are less than 18 feet tall, it should fly through pretty easily. So here's now a design where I really took the A-frames that you guys were showing, you had quite a few of these images where we had these steeply sloped roofs with glass going all the way up to the ceiling. And so I really wanted to try and make something like that work. And I'm really excited about this design. So here we're seeing the tip of the A-frame peak expressed all the way up to the front of the entry. And as we turn the corner, we start to see the A-frames happening at the great room, not just at the master suite, happening at the great room too. And I really like this. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on here. Of course I started like I've been doing with the great room vault running this way, and I built up all of this tall glass here. And when I was looking at that, and as I'm standing inside the space, I'm going, gosh, I wish there was that tall elm tree right here. I'd love to have this be looking out this way at that tree. So I quickly mocked it up. I said, well, what if I turned this face? What if I copied this face and did a cross gable? I think it's very interesting. It's perhaps taking that A-frame design and sort of elevating it into more of a transitional feel. because there's a lot of sort of contemporary things happening here, where we've got sort of this one coming down to the ground but stopping short here. Then the giant A-frame at the covered porch, where now we've got a really tall thing happening at the porch too, at the dining room, where you look out and you see there's still a lot of structure. So I'm not entirely sure if capturing this tall of a vaulted space for this covered porch is appropriate, but I absolutely love it here at the kitchen. And of course, I love it at the master suite too. So I thought it would be interesting to try that here and get your take on it. So this, of course, would be a solid screen that's just always in place, and then the drop-down screens, the roll-down ones, would drop from here, from this soffit here, and then another one here to close off these three elements. This could maybe even just be a solid screen that's always down. We could talk about that. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting concept. When you're sitting here at the head of the table in the covered porch, again, I feel like it'd be a shame not to have this be really bright up here. So these skylights would be part of this covered porch element, so that you still get a chance to see and appreciate the canopy here. And also just to bring light into all these high vaulted ceiling windows that we have here. It'd be a shame to be just looking up and just to have this all be solid. Like this view is, sure, but there's nothing really to look out at on this side. Whereas these skylights are going to bring a lot of light into this covered porch area and in through these huge sliding pocket doors. Okay, so I think that's study number 4. And this is a bit taller, right? If we looked at how the city defines height, this lower red plane here marks that 18 foot from the average of this grade and the average of a grade point back here. 18 feet up from that represents their maximum height limit. This one exceeds that by about 5 feet. But we're still well under the max height limit of 26 feet, I want to say. Yeah, it's 26 feet. But this really has the opportunity for some very high expressed ceilings, perhaps too high, perhaps too tall. But man, I think this is something that you guys might like. So this is where the cooktop is, of course, but then there'd be some sort of cabinetry element between these windows here that would duct the cooktop through a flue pipe expressed right here. And I think this could be really a cute sort of cabin-y type thing that's strutted and strapped. This can get a little bit taller. It could even be painted in accent material and play it up. It could have been this blue too. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this design here. Of course, though, this one going through the Planning Commission and just being a bit different might be a bit of a push, although I don't see who we're negatively impacting here. There's, again, it's single story. It's super tall, but it is single story. There's not a huge impact to the neighbors' privacy. By having these super high windows here, no one's standing up at this level looking out. You're still just standing at the floor level here, looking out at the fence. That's not too much of an impact on their privacy. So this next design sort of takes the simpler approach, or a less extreme approach for the roof. This looks a little bit like that sort of safe Craftsman version that I was shown before for study 2, but it pops us up. It says let's make sure that we can work some dormers in. So let's pop this up to a height of above 26, or above the 18 by about 3.5 feet. But doing so, and going with an ultra low slope 2 and 12 over the garage area here does allow us to get these 6 dormers equally spaced inside the great room, and I think that could be pretty cool. This one's okay. You know, I think based on the images you shared, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the A-frame, but this one's also, you know, really great, perhaps a bit safer, because the roof slopes aren't as extreme, and just with the same logic that we were using for the tall A-frame home here, these high windows or this extra height isn't really impacting the neighborhood too much. We've got a lot of low sloped, low single story elements surrounding it, and we're pulling back the tall elements far from the setbacks. So I do think that these should be good to go, or this one will be a bit easier to go through the Planning Commission with. But that's, you know, sort of just a really sort of soft opinion there. You know, I thought I had another option where I had just a very standard, more standard master suite for you. Here it is, yes. I didn't really talk about this. So back at that less than 18-foot height version, here's a version of the master suite, along with the contemporary version, or the transitional version as well, where the master suite is just a bit more standard and not quite so A-framed. And it's very good, you know. There's nothing wrong with this. This could certainly have a nice vaulted ceiling as well. Oh, a little lost in the model here. Oh boy, okay, here we are in the master suite again. You know, this could have a vaulted ceiling in it and have a lot of height, even though it's taking off from a 9-foot wall. And then we can fit some triangle top windows there as well. So this could still be built up and improved upon. But here's just a simpler version of what that roof shape could look like back here. It doesn't only have to be the A-frame. I know I kind of went perhaps a bit overboard on this one. But I do think there are quite a few really interesting options for you to consider here, all based on the same floor plan. And so you're going to be getting a PDF that shows all these studies with more or less the same viewports, or the same scenes, or perspective views of the different model options. So again, there's that less than 18-foot Gambrel roof, the farmhouse looking roof. There's the study 2, which is the less than 18-foot Craftsman style home. A very simple roof, the less than 18-foot, just 2 and 12 roof over the whole thing, but with super simple roofs to install. Transitional home. Study 4 would be the A-frame house, and then study 5 would be the Craftsman style home that exceeds the 18-foot height limit in order to get these dormers expressed inside of the great room. And another thing I thought would be interesting, which I didn't talk about, I can bring up the model again. I thought it'd be interesting to, you know, if we do this extra height back here, maybe instead of just going all the way up to the top with more glass, it would be nice to emulate what we're doing here with the circle window at the front, circle window at the back, and then do a pop out here, a little bay window, a very big bay window, but that would give you an extra deep countertop at the sink area, which might be kind of nice. You might like that. Of course, there's other ways that we could do it too, such as taking the glass all the way up to the ceiling again, and incorporating the circle in that and doing something that's a bit more whimsical. So lots to review and discuss. I'm really looking forward to our next meeting where I can hear your guys' feedback on these massing studies. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.